But this is important. They're going to keep propping up the image of China. They have to prop up the reality of China. And this moment in history is very, very important. China is now going to become part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem in a public sense. And that's what's going on now. And it ties in very nicely with the counter-terrorism strategy which Donald J. Trump released just recently. In summary of what's going on with China specifically, with all the chief executives wandering across, and apparently it's all business. Well, no. The first and most obvious element, as far as the great unwashed need to know, is that this is now the public normalization of relations with China through Xi Jinping. It started with Xi Jinping's visit to Mar-a-Lago, that very first visit. And that was the first comm saying, we are working hand in glove with this man. Now, publicly, China had to be the bogeyman for the last many, many years since that time, because that served a purpose for them to still be the major trouble facing the US internationally, apart from everything else. But that was for show, because behind the scenes, as we know, Xi Jinping was being supported and helped by Donald Trump consolidate his power internally. Now, Xi Jinping had to take care of his own problems in-house. That's the way it's done. But it was substantial assistance was provided to him so he could remove the troublemakers within his own country, because it's not like it's one amorphous mass. These are factions vying for more power, more money. There's nothing communist about this country. It's just a kleptocracy. And so the assistance was provided. The organization was cleared. The decks were cleared, and now we've reached that stage in the operation where that public cooperation with China through Xi Jinping, and that's critical, will get bigger and better. If you look at the key players, there's this continuity that has to be publicly portrayed. Change of leadership destabilizes, the people emotionally. But you've seen Modi in India, you've got Putin in Russia, you've got Xi Jinping in China, and the same faces are there, and there's that stability. And you don't change characters halfway through a show when a character still has longevity, where a character has a role to play, and that stability. You know what it's like in entertainment, in a movie. The people have to have a strong emotional connection with the characters. They either have to hate them or they have to love them. But anything between, that character is removed from the show. So we've had characters that we're familiar with, we know, like, and trust them, inverted commas, or we know, don't like, and don't trust them. It doesn't matter. But that stability of characters in the show allows the people to continue following the storyline without having to be introduced to a new character. And I'm not sure how I feel about this guy or this girl. Who are they? Excuse me. And that's why this has been critical from the very beginning, for the White Hats, DJ Chi and the White Hats, to get a hold of Xi Jinping and help him. Now, second part, China it's not a house of cards. It's more like a Potemkin village. A Potemkin village is a term used. It's an apocryphal story under a Russian story, where the Empress of Russia was floating down a barge, and Potemkin, her foreign minister, decided to throw up these wooden cutouts of what looked like happy villages. So as she sailed through, the Russian countryside looked like it was in good shape. It was just facade. China is very much like that economically, and Blainhold alluded to this, economically, but even in terms of population, we're hearing stories that they're nowhere near 1 billion people. That demographically, that was impossible to achieve simply because with the one child China policy, it smashed the demography of the country. And so they're not as populous. The economy is not as grand as it says it is. It's in trouble. It has problems everywhere. And at the top, you've got this kleptocracy that is trying to steal everything from everybody, and it's about to fall down. But the US cannot allow the facade of China to collapse. It continues playing its role in this show, because there are still a lot of people in China that need to be looked after, in terms of preventing national famine, national economic collapse. DJT and the White Hat's no more interest in collapsing China that way than they do watching the rest of the world collapse, because the cost would be too high in terms of starvation and death, for example. Not that China's not familiar with it. But this is important. They're going to keep propping up the image of China. They have to prop up the reality of China. And so this moment in history is very, very important. China is now going to become part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem in a public sense. And that's what's going on now. And it ties in very nicely with the counter-terrorism strategy which Donald J. Trump released just recently, and the approach that DJT is taking with counterterrorism, which is no longer disaffected people with AK-47s. We know that terrorism has many parts: narco-terrorism, the trafficking, the control of the money. It's nothing to do with ideology. Never was, doesn't now. But now China's going to be playing a bigger role in that entire strategy globally as the US adapts terrorism and its approach to peace on earth across the Western Hemisphere, across the Middle East, across Africa, Asia and Southern Asia, all those areas that need to be taken care of. We are now seeing the big four, let's say, standing up together, and there's that continuity of image which is critical, helping us move forward. So it's a really Blaine did a good job on the analysis. I hope I've added a little bit more to it, but China is now publicly going to become great friends with the US and Donald J. Trump.
The global financial reset is underway and happening now. The battle rages on with competing parallel systems. The current deep state Federal Reserve Central Bank system and the system President Trump and team has developed. While the dawning of the golden age is upon us, we are presently in the danger zone through the reset transition.
Join me and my prominent guests every Wednesday live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on JMC Broadcasting's backup Rumble channel on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Sign up for JMC's free weekly war report, including notifications of when the Global Financial Reset Show is published. The future is bright, and it belongs to us, not to the global elite.
Global Financial Reset. Only from JMC Broadcasting.